Facebook, YouTube, and the like. Webbo, I have to applaud Prime Minister Drew for the amnesty period he has given or has established or announced regarding firearms. Firearms don't really kill people. People do. And I'm hoping that this amnesty period would be able to sensitize those people in our community who got illegal firearms and ask them to turn them in immediately during this amnesty period. Let me amplify Dr. Drew's statement regarding the amnesty period. No questions will be asked. You don't have to make known of your identity. You can even take it to an attorney or lawyer, as the case might be, so that you could turn your firearm, that firearm that is in your possession, and let's bring Nevis and Sinkits, and in fact further afield, to some semblance of normalcy with regard to illegal firearms. Those who adhere to the call will be in a better position. I must say, we are expecting a treasure trove of firearms to be turned in during this amnesty period. I beckon you, I call upon you, those of you who got illegal firearms out there, to turn them in, because these illegal firearms are used all the time in the commission of the gun crime that has escalated in our territory or in our federation or in our country. As a result, everyone would be able to relax, go to sleep at night with the expectation that these firearms are no longer in the hands of criminals or those potential criminals who have no qualms of using these firearms to settle a score. The time has come for us to rid ourselves, our nation, our community with these illegal firearms. Webbo, I know that the people of Haiti have somewhat brought to the fore an organization which should have taken over from which should have been able to make good on the efforts that were made by the international community to put this organization together to bring about a head of state in Haiti temporarily. But for whatever reason, it is understood that some members of the panel of the organization are in opposition to the reality of bringing some semblance of calm to the people and community of Haiti. But we'll see what happens further down the road. Webbo, Niall.
Well, I suppose something can come out of that, but it seems to be already fragmented before it gets going. Importantly to me, and of course an interim leader or one of some political status would be a good thing, but the ignorance that has taken root in Haiti is going to be very, very, very difficult to achieve, such calm immediately, because of course the bottom line is Haitians think that they should be the one to decide, to make decision as it relates to the political future of Haiti. They have not proved that they can do that, but there's this sense and this pride that people have, that nations and some population of nations do have, that look, we are the one to decide for us. But for what we've been seeing, that doesn't work very well in Haiti, it looks like, so far. So I'll be happy if they can, in some way or the other, establish some calm, and as quick as possible they can put the various mechanism in place that they can have an election. But how free and how fair would that election be? I'm not sure what's the path forward for Haiti, but obviously it is one of the very sore spots on earth today, and I think it's a problem need to be solved in a big way. It's a problem not just started recently, but it has of course escalated in such ways that it seems to be the gangs are the rulers of Haiti, and that is not something that is very distant from many islands as far as I can see. But I do hope that some form of reasonableness can come out of the very desperate situation that exists in Haiti. CARICOM is one of the bodies, I think, that should play a very important role. It is quite amazing that the Kenyan government was willing to send a peacekeeping force of 1,000 men. If not 1,000, it can be 10,000. But even 10,000 is nothing at all in a place with 11 million people, and a place that seems to be so guns are such a common thing amongst the population. So I cannot see where a peacekeeping force of 10,000, even 10,000, which doesn't have any knowledge of the place, can come there. But I understand they have stepped back until they have some kind of political framework in Haiti. So to me, there is a lot of talk surrounding what they want to happen, but I am not seeing no real commitment from CARICOM or even the bigger countries of the world, in commitment in terms of firepower, in terms of financial contribution, and all that it takes. And it's going to take some time to really bring stability to Haiti. You probably got to move there with a lot of men, a lot of army men, with a lot of ammunitions, and with the expectation that it's going to be a kind of long haul to get things together. You probably may need some kind of ear backed up people, jets flying overhead and such things, almost like a modern day warfare, really, to come in and take control of that little place. And who is committed to that is another question. And so the Haitian situation remains a sore situation, and even if it calms down for a little while, to me, one will expect it to flare up again because of the underlying circumstances that exist: impoverishedness, lack of education, not so much international connection in terms of commerce, not so much links, because you haven't had a political arrangement there, like a government in place. So there isn't much ties, regional or internationally, with Haiti, and that's why I think it's going to be a long haul to really bring Haiti back to the place where it is respected as a nation and can be a part of the group of nations. And so we have a big problem on our heels, and of course the Caribbean, a lot of the leaders are repugnant towards taking in Haitians because of various reasons. But I think we should be a little more open to that, and we should recognize these people at times when we see them reach our shore on little crafts and all this. We should see them as refugees and be prepared to really fall in line with what is expected internationally of as it relates to care of and accommodation of these people.
Well, Naya, I want to pick up on the last part that you spoke to, in terms of taking them in. But what we have to take into consideration is that the size of our country and the population, and then the population of Haiti. You would have mentioned earlier something like 11 million people to a population of just maybe 50, 60,000 people here in St. Kitts Nevis. And if persons in Haiti were to become aware that, let's say, once you reach St. Kitts Nevis, let's kind of use it, the wet foot, dry foot policy as Cuba and America, and we would take them in. Then what I believe is that persons would be coming here in droves, and then soon, and very soon, we would have thousands. I mean, realistically, if we were to get even 5,000 persons coming here in a period of, let's say, a year, 6 months to 1 year, you understand the impact that it would have on our small nation state. Schools, water. I mean, right now we have difficulties from time to time with water. Our supermarkets, even our churches. Well, maybe our churches, the pastors would be happier, because the churches probably would be fuller, so to speak. But the impact that it would have on our small island state, I think we're going to be overwhelmed. I don't think that we would be able to accommodate them in droves, because we must understand the situation in Haiti. Basically, Haitians, they want to flee their country because of whatever happening there. They want a better place, so to speak. And I am not saying if they come, because there are certain policies in place. Once they come, we would assist them, in getting back on the foot, so to speak, and to get them back out. But if we were to keep them, and then some more come, because remember, we are living in a global society, word get back. Some more come next week, some more come next month. And you understand the trend that I'm trying to develop here in terms of the coming in jobs. So we have to be very careful. I could understand it from the humane aspect, but we still have to understand the social and other impact that it would have on us right here. And far too long, I believe that Haitians are their own enemies. The internal gang warfare and stuff like that. I mean, just maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, Barbecue, that's one of the gang leaders, one of the bigger gang leaders in Haiti, burnt the prison, freed a number of prisoners and stuff like that, blocked the airport and stuff like that. I mean, these people, they have the very way of life and the impact that they would have on us, on us here. What impact would they be able to have on us if they were supposed to come in the numbers? The way of life is totally different. The culture, the way of thinking, I believe that, we have to look into it deeper before we could, come to that conclusion, so to speak, in terms of taking them in. That is how I'm feeling right now.
Well, you remind me a little bit of Donald Trump, but as you know, as he relates to people coming in, we're no different. They may exist in a more hostile environment, but Haiti is not really a small place neither. There are people there just like me and you, as calm, as morally upright, as respected, as yearning for education, just like me and you. Mm-hmm. They are not all the barbecues and gunmen and gangsters. In fact, these people who are gangsters and gunmen, they are the minority in Haiti. They are the whole in ransom, the majority, who are everyday good, decent, good-looking people. But the question about population, it's a major question here on island. And I think we probably need to address that in a very serious way. Because Nevis needs people.
And I agree.
Nevis needs a bigger population.
I agree.
Everywhere you look around, you will realize that. And so how many people you think Nevis can really take on?
But this is what I'm
when we speak about a bigger population. 5,000 people will be a very nice thing for Nevis right now. You understand? Now, you may think if for 5,000 white people, they might be better than if there were 5,000 black people. Or vice versa. Listen to me. Or vice versa.
I didn't even imply that.
No. But I said vice versa. So, I kind of qualify what I'm saying. Vice versa. But we, as a little island called Nevis, can do with an increase in population. And I think we are pointing out things like school. I mean, is the egg or the chicken come first?
Yeah.
One got to come first here, we're talking about health. I mean, if you got more people demanding health, then you probably really maybe have to improve your health situation, the capacity of your school. What's wrong with that? We're talking about growth. We're talking about, because when you look at the economic impact too, that can be very positive. Here am I just talking to an individual, say he can't find no workers, he can't find no skilled workers, he haven't have much of a choice in terms of what he got to take what he get. We find in a very serious way businesses, small businesses in Nevis, open and close all the time. The nightlife is so tiny. I mean, it has so much beautiful place in Nevis that cannot survive because of the lack of patronage, which sometimes point towards that small population we have. The small population they have is an impediment to a great extent to the economic growth. It's not the size of Nevis, it is the population. Everybody have to eat, everybody have to live. Everybody have to live, meaning farm in a place, or home, everybody have to live, they have to go look at a job. I mean, that's what we want, a more vibrant and a bigger turnover of things. In this little island, it's happening over in St. Kitts, to me, because a lot of our migrants have moved to St. Kitts because opportunities seems to be a little more flourishing there. From their point of view, maybe, it's faster and everything else. But Nevis can do it a good 5,000 people. So I don't know this. And of course, if you can pinpoint these people who you want to come, it's always to be the best. But you can't. But everybody needs the same thing. They need to live and have a good life and survive. And so I am really putting on the table that this ideology we have, that if 5,000 people come to Nevis, everything is going to get screwed up. I can't buy that.
Naya, I think I want to agree with you with certain things that you would have said, Naya. Firstly, if 5,000 people come, it would be good for Nevis. But what I'm saying, not all at once, not in a space of maybe 6 months to a year. And what is this thing here? Those 5,000 people that we would want to come, we would want them to come, not just coming illegally. We would want them to come legally, meaning they have the passports, they have the documents, you know,
You're not living in a perfect world. That's what the word refugee
I understand.
represents.
I understand all of that, Naya. I understand all of that. But what we are saying, we have a better chance if persons were to come legally. They have the documentation. We basically know who they are, who are coming in, opposed to persons, for want of a better term, you know, knock ashore and come, and we don't know who they are. That's the point I am bringing. Yes, I agree that we need our population to build. I have no argument with that. But it's the way we are going to build it, the way we are going to go about building it. That's the difference that I have here, Naya.
Well, what I know that can be done, a screening method must be adhered to.
Yeah.
One, you can't come unless you have a skill. Two, you can't come unless you are a law-abiding citizen. I mean, we had to answer several questions on immigration forms for those of us who wanted to migrate to Canada. And fortunately, based on my education, based on my skills, I was admitted in a flash. I was called to Puerto Rico for an interview, and within short order, I was a Canadian immigrant. I went to Canada, but the job that I was offered was paying me less than what I left in St. Croix. So I reverted to St. Croix, leaving Canada in short order. But based on the foreign policy of a country, these people must be screened, and within a certain period of time, we might be creating a brain drain from that locale or locality to us. But if we were to, again, screen them, your educational background, your skill sets, and ultimately, we have to control the numbers. As Roger stated, the impact on our fragile services, education, health, those are the two primary factors with reference to the impact. 5,000 people within a small nation like St. Kitts Nevis
So quickly.
is quite a mammoth number, and in that regard, we cannot absorb people within even 3 years, 5 years, unless we get the cream of the crop from the other nation, or from, let's keep Haiti in focus. So, like I said, we have the tools to ensure that we get the right people and in the right numbers, because we have our immigration policy, and those people are charged with the responsibility to ensure that the numbers are correct, the skill sets are correct, and the educational background is correct. So in short order, we can get from that community, the Haitian community, to Nevis, the law abiders, those with the proper skills and educational background. So it's not a difficult task to screen and get the right people. We want to help, but we cannot help in a way that would endanger our population with reference to the impact on the services that we have available. Roger.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Stanley, on those points that you just made. And as I would have said earlier, yes, we need the population to grow, but we have to pave a path. We have to lay out a path. How quickly can we allow the population to grow without getting out of whack, so to speak? You know, one major thing too is the housing stock. I mean, if we were to get 5,000 people now, within a period of, as I stated earlier, maybe 6 months to a year, I mean, the reality is, where are we gonna host them? So it's gonna have a strain on the housing stock. If 100 of them were to get sick, what happened to our healthcare? What happened to our little Alexandria Hospital?
What about if 100 of us get sick?
Exactly my point. And I am not speaking about those of us who live here. So if 100 of them get sick and then 100 of us get sick, that's 200.
No, but not 100 of them and
saying.
100 of us. What about 100 of us get sick? Look,
look,
just the other day something happened, and they had to fly out a little guy to for medical reasons. I mean, everybody's celebrating, which is good. You know, the guy was taken care of correctly, but it seems to be this big thing. Like there's a lot of happiness surrounds the fact that our healthcare system cannot take care of us. We really shouldn't be celebrating in a way to say that, okay, here are we facilitating the young guy to go, because at the same time it is also saying that our healthcare system are not ready. Okay, and so of course we all have to be ready to go, because our healthcare system at times doesn't facilitate us. And it happens in a lot of countries. We might go to St. Kitts, but the Kittitians might also have to go to Antigua, and the Antiguans might have to go, and I do understand that. Okay, but what I'm saying, it looks to me like it is a settled accommodation in our minds that it's okay that we have to go somewhere else.
It's
not really okay, because it takes a lot of juggling, a lot of finance. It's not really okay. But of course we want to save lives. And so we have to do that. But it's not to celebrate the fact that our health system is not enough or sufficient. I believe if 100 of us get sick now, we're in trouble. If 50 of us get sick now, we're in trouble.
So you understand the point, Naya? And
but it would be no difference if you bring in 5,000 people and 50 people get sick one time, or 100 people get sick one time. No, I mean, every country has its immigration thing, and of course, Mr. Stanley, you went to Canada, but you wasn't running from bomb and hunger and starvation in St. Croix, so you come back quick, because in St. Croix they were paying more. Now, these people are running for their life. They are running for their life. Okay? And there's a positive aspect, from my point of view, as it relates to an increased population here in Nevis. And realize I'm saying Nevis all the time. And not even the Federation, I'm saying Nevis. Because then we would be realizing that something have to come first. Is either the egg or the chicken. The people have to come and we accommodate them. Or we tend to accommodate an expectation that people would come. So what is the reality of it? What is the most realistic approach? That you would create facilities to accommodate an expectation that people would come, or when the people come, you will furnish the need of providing these services. The more realistic situation to me is that if people come, and when they come, then we increase our capacity. We should be able to do that. Because no one is going to make preparation based on an expectation that refugee might come.
Well, we have a system in place. We have a government in place. And we have trained people in place to, again, screen a certain number of people. And we don't want to be inundated with people who are going to ultimately get sick in those numbers. So we got to put in place
we never know
a system, a managed system, where we're able to figure out as to the impact that those people who would be coming will have on our services. Like I mentioned earlier, Roger mentioned earlier, and maybe you have mentioned earlier, our healthcare system, our educational system. Those are the two systems that would be in great demand in terms of those people who are coming to our shores. But at the same time, we are not a people who don't have any experience in healthcare. We are not a people who don't have experience in education. But at the same time, if we are going to help, we ensure that the quantity of people who we are going to help will be in a manageable amount in terms of the numbers, that they become a plus, not a minus, not a burden on our system, because this has been said by the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Joe, I heard him. We have to look at this thing holistically, and as a result, we take the right approach in terms of accommodation. Roger mentioned housing. That would be a demand, and where there is a demand, people would always adhere to that demand,
supply,
and make available the supply to ameliorate or reduce the demand. So we are not living in a vacuum. We are not well, let me, for the want of a better word, we are not stupid people. So we have to put forward a management system so that when these people whom we're going to help arrive, we can accommodate them gradually without the massive negative impact on our resources, our meager resources. So, if they come and they got their skills, like I've said, their education, they would contribute to our social security system, and ultimately the population growth, as the case might be.
You know, I just want to go back to something that Naya said earlier, because I firmly believe that persons would not be celebrating because we lack the resources health-wise here on island and they have to be flown out. I believe what people would be happy for is that funds have been accessed and their loved one has been flown out for medical treatment. It's a difference. It's a difference. Now, you would have alluded to other countries, and they themselves, who might be bigger than us, quote unquote more advanced than us, but from time to time persons, their citizen would have to be flown out to another country.
Of course.
Right. So what I'm saying, it is not because we do not celebrate because we do not have the necessary health care here. We celebrate because persons are able to be flown out, as I said, to get the treatment. Because remember, people, they're in love with their loved ones. Life is precious. People want to maintain life. People want to be able to live, and not just to live, but to be able to recover and live at a quality. The quality of life that they live is important. Persons do not want to see their loved ones, necessarily maybe belaying one side.
I don't want you to read me wrong at all.
Well, I am hoping. But I just want to clarify, because there are persons listening, and there are persons who might, not necessarily me, but there are persons who might, misconstrue what
I don't want you to read me wrong. I had situations before where I was attempting to fly out, close relative, for survival reasons, and so forth, and people's contribution. you just give thanks for everything. You don't want to see somebody go down because they cannot raise $100,000, and so we feel good when we can, accumulate that, and individuals are gone, to do what has to be done. The point I'm making is that on the backhand of that, it makes one reflect on our ableness to medically support our citizenship. Now, we fly out for various reasons, okay? Some of the reasons that we find ourselves flying out, now I'll move on, left that youngster and his incident. Many times we find ourselves have to go. Maybe the operation is not really too much out of our ableness and our ability that exists here, but simply because our health system is as such. No, I'm not talking politics, okay?
Well,
listen, I'm not talking politics. I'm simply saying on the backhand of that, it points to the very factual situation that our healthcare cannot. And there are times when I think it should have been able to deal with certain things that we still find ourselves have to go away from. And that's just the point I'm making. On the backhand of it, it reminds you that our healthcare system is what it is. I'm not saying that celebration shouldn't take place. I celebrate when I heard everything went fine with the young man, and he raised that amount and everything else. So I just want you to read me correctly. Okay?
We have to be able to distinguish or separate natural causes from accidental causes. There are some accidents that occurred and people had to fly out for medical reasons. And sometimes a health professional would look at the case, and for that patient to be stabilized, they would recommend that instead of flying the patient out to get health stability, the patient should stay here until that patient is stabilized enough, and then if the need arises, or if you need be, then you fly that patient out. And again, you have to separate a natural cause problem from an accidental cause problem. And in that regard, sometimes the patient is flown out, and instead of coming back alive, they died simply because they weren't stabilized here before they were flown out. Now, if you have a natural ailment that supposedly or should give you enough time to assess the application of treatment so that the person can go off island, get treatment, and come back alive. So again, it must be distinguished. An accidental reason for flying out or a natural reason. So in that regard, we have to keep this in sharp focus so that we get the appropriate results for the patient whom we are attempting to help. And again, money would always be available. You just have to seek and you will find. And as a result, the money would be brought forward to assist whomever, whenever, however. Roger.
Yes, Stanley. That is so true, Stanley. And no matter what, how advanced we get, no island, no country, I think, would have it 100%, no matter what. I went to visit someone, I think might have been last week or week before, at the hospital. And I was pleasantly surprised when the gentleman that I went to visit, said to me, the gentleman next to him, came over from St. Kitts to have a surgery done here in our hospital. And we know normally,
It's the other way around.
It's the other way around. Persons from Nevis will go across to St. Kitts to have whatever medical treatment. So, and sometimes it is preference too, and resources. Because everyone, especially if they have the resources, they would want, quote unquote, the best treatment. And sometimes too, that treatment, you can get it right here.
Yeah.
You can get it right here. I can recall a personal experience. I went to a doctor in Antigua some time ago. Many years ago, might have been the late 80s. And when I went, the doctor there asked me if we don't have a doctor in Nevis by the name of Linton Libert. God may his soul rest in peace. And I said yes. And I am saying this because I would have heard stories before, but that doctor asked me that question because he felt as if that our doctor here, in the person of Dr. Linton Liebert, was more than capable to render whatever services were to be rendered. So sometimes we are misguided, sometimes it's preference, sometimes it's resources, not that I have, mind you, but I am just saying it's for different reasons. It could be accidental, it can be, a number of different reasons. And as I said, no island, no country would have it 100%.
No island, and I must say this about the healthcare here. We have very much access to healthcare here in the Federation. Listen to me good, access. That's a very good thing. That's a very good thing. Sometimes in other countries it takes so long to really be treated, or even for a consultation.
Yes.
I mean, and I find in the Federation that happened so fast. Mm-hmm. That happened so fast. I mean, I had doctors come to my home, to my mom's place to see my mom. I mean, in the developed world, if you get that happening, you must have a lot of money and a lot of things happening. This is a doctor who come and deliver his personal care at your home, and even for cancer patients. I mean, over there in St. Kitts, it's the whole treatment is very much accessible. And I could remember a friend of mine developed cancer, and when she was thinking about going to England, and we call our people over there, and the people say, hey, if you come up here, you guys join a long line. The NHS in England got a waiting list long from here to Puerto Rico, and we called to Africa because she had some connection there, and it was worse than England. And it was very much readily accessible in St. Kitts, and the quality of that particular aspect of ill health, cancer, is a very high standard over there in St. Kitts.
Well, let me just say this.
And so access to health services, I think, is very good here. Access to health service. Now the level of service is quite something different, but there is access.
Well, I listened to a television ad, and this doctor walked in and saw the patient, called her Brenda, and the patient name was different. But the patient became suspicious. So the doctor asked, which leg are we operating on? The patient said, arm. So he replied, and every time I hear the ad, I see the ad, I got to just laugh. He replied, they all connected, meaning whether I had it right or wrong, they're all connected. Another personal experience I had, two of my good friends died at an early age in St. Croix. Benelli Webb, Moses Webb's brother, and another fellow by the name of Ricardo Grant. I had a medical problem. I didn't know I had it, but I decided to check myself out. And when I got to the hospital, I explained to the doctor, I need 2 nurses to watch me around the clock. Because when you go into the hospital, sometimes you're only known by a number. And if you have nobody looking out for you, you could be up a gum tree. Anyhow, because of my knowledge of my 2 friends who went into the St. Croix hospital and didn't come back out alive, I told the person who took information from me, I have two young children to look after, and therefore I don't want to come in here known as a number and passed. So I employ two people to look over me to ensure
Resources.
I remain vigilant. People watch over me. Eventually, came through. So, medical accidents happen all the time. And if you don't have anybody to look out for you, you could be up a gum tree.
Yeah, and presently Nevis have some good things happening at the hospital. Actually, have some good surgeons there who are really technologically advanced, and it costs some money, but they are very much welcome.
As good as anybody else.
You know, because we see certain surgery taking place here now, which never used to happen. You know, and so that's a major improvement, I would think. And of course, and there's always
let me get this. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Yes, good evening. Let me get to your panel, please.
You're on the air, could you go ahead?
Okay.
My friend.
Yes, Mr. Stanley. you guys seem to forget a lot of things, man.
Bring us up to speed.
Naya said, which one come first, the chicken or the egg? And you could put that in order. Because if you remember when we went to St. Croix, what used to happen? You have nowhere to sleep. You got you $50 in your pocket. I'm not really comparing then to now, but the system is still there. The system is still there. The same system we went through when we went there in the 60s is still there and could be implemented. You know, if you got to go to immigration, you pay $20. You pay what you got. Whoever come in there, they must have something to pay, and if they don't, you know, you put them to work. And right now, we Nevis could do with people, because look at what's going on there. Most everybody have two jobs, and you can't even get people to work. You look around, the ground is there to be plow and plant food. Hardly anybody doing that. The few people doing that, you still got to spend all that money to bring in food, things like potato, yams, and those kind of things that we've been storing up in our under our house from one year to the next. Now you can't even find one to eat. You know, and if people come in there, you know, you look at some development might look to come to Nevis, and the first thing they're going to say, oh, we don't have people to work. There's nobody there to work. You get people, I mean, you'd be surprised. You have people to work, you work workshop, and you could make your own work. If they ask about people, I mean, where they're going to live, the people will make their own home. They're going to pay into the whole system. Whatever we're paying into, they're going to pay into the same way. Same way, whatever we who live there pay into, they're going to pay into it. The minute they get a job to even plow the ground, to plant food, they're going to be selling the food. We probably could do it or bring in all them containers with food what we 2-3 months ago come in there. When you take them out the fridge, they turn soft, you can't eat them.
Caller, can I make a point so you can address it? Because you're mentioning planting the food, but the argument that I hear, the pushback I hear on that is that the monkeys won't allow them to plant.
Well, we could. Somebody got to mind those monkeys, man. If you plant the food, you know, when you look at it. In my days, when I was growing up, most of the field that we plant, we got a house there. We got a house there too. You got a house there, you got your dog there, you got your animal there. But everybody plant the food and gone downtown to live. Nobody look to stay there to mind what they put in the ground. This is one of the problems. I mean, we used to plant food all the way up in the mountain up there with the monkeys, but somebody usually stay around there till late. We cook our food there. Sometimes we go from school and that's where we go. I used to go down to Budgeon down there in when we come from Brownhill School, we come up Lamper Hill and we stay off there in the place where we get corn, cotton, yam, everything plant. And you stay there until night, you go home. Monkey hardly move around in the night.
Okay.
I don't think they move around in the night. But nobody minding their stuff. They put him there and go downtown and hang out in the bars and fool around instead of stay there and mind the crop.
You know, Carl, I deliberately asked you that question, knowing not exactly what you would say, but you will provide the answer that I was looking for. In other words, you are doing something, you have a challenge, you meet it. Whatever is necessary, and then you get it done.
I think so. I think that's the way it goes, man. But, you know, I don't know. We live in different these days. But I remember when I don't even know how Stanley didn't pick that up. Because look at St. Croix. Look at St. Thomas. That place was built by people, by us, who went in there as young people. A lot of us didn't even get proper schooling, but we went down there and we find our way out, and make it happen too, and reach to the top. A lot of us reach as far as we could ever reach, and the system is still there. The same way we go in there, they give us 6 months. If somebody got to give you a bond, they got to pay for you, and that's income, for revenue for the country. And at the same time, you working, you contribute to whatever is there to be contributed to. You pay your Social Security, you pay whatever you got to pay. You pay your unemployment. If you lose your job for any reason, you go to unemployment, you get a couple dollars, and you cool out with that until such time. And that, like I said, if anyone really need to do any development in Nevis, one of the first things they're going to say, they don't have people to work right now. So like Naya said, which one come first? Either the chicken or the egg, which you got to figure that one out. You got to figure that out. Believe me, I could see that. I mean, and the reason why I say Stanley, because we were down there together.
So he should know better, right?
He should know better. He's been there. You're talking about 5,000 people. We need about 10,000 people in Nevis.
He should know better. Yeah.
Yeah. We need people to work.
Yep.
I mean, to work with Harris, and you're talking about the Haitian. You got people in Haitian, in Haiti with money. They could come in and start some other business and contribute to the whole development of the country. We ain't got to wait for people to come from America and Canada and all this kind of thing. We could make up our own system, man. We could do that. Believe me, I see that so plain that I don't understand.
You think, Caller, is because we are not creative and innovative and we are just trying to fit somebody else's model into us?
Well, however, it seemed like that in a big way, because it's things there to be done. Things there to be done. I mean, we talk about the health system. We don't have no health system in St. Croix. When we go there, man, we're cutting cane. I mean, I'm not trying to to compare then to now, but at least it's the same principle as far as I'm concerned. Same principle. I mean, things got to go on. I mean, like those guys who talking about we can't bring in people. You're not going to go out there and bring in people. Just screen them. You just like Edric was saying, we it's like a farm. Give it to you. Put in an application. The application there with what's on it. You pick out who you want, and you're not going to get all professional. You need some laborers too.
Yes. Yes.
That's how I see it. I couldn't avoid calling in because I just see a going around the bush and talking about the health system.
I agree.
All of us ain't going to get sick at the same time.
Yeah.
Unless we have and if even think well, right now, people still go to the States to go to the doctor. Sometimes same thing.
Thank you for the light moment at the end. So in other words, they just keep going around the bush.
Go around the bush, go around and come back to the same spot. That's what the Spaniards play, like and when you're on a treadmill.
Yeah, I'm going to drop it for you tomorrow. Okay, caller, thanks much.
Okay, man.
All right, thank you. You know, it's interesting hearing from that person because he didn't give his name, so I won't either. Those who recognize him would recognize him, but he's a powerhouse, right?
Quite so.
And in essence, he's just making the point, as someone, a poet wrote, life is a challenge, meet it. You have the issues and stuff like that. You meet the challenges instead of keep worrying about this problem and that problem. And I like the answer he gave about the monkeys, right? So what they did in those days, one of the things they did, he said, you get somebody to sit down there and watch, right? So you do what is necessary. But what are we doing? Going round and round the bush by saying, oh, the monkey and the government's supposed to do this and the government's supposed to do that. Thank you, Mr. Caller, for that, well, so I'll drop the song tomorrow. Go ahead, Adrian. And I like how he called you out too. You should know better.
Well, of course, I said at a certain point we would make contribution. Those people who are coming in would make contribution to Social Security and the like. But at the same time, I couldn't get in everything I want to say, and sometimes, for the lack of.
So you were about to say it. Just that he said it before.
Well, there are times when I have so many things to say, I don't get the opportunity.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. So he called and made an intervention.
Right.
Had he not done that, you would have said it.
It is very likely.
Right.
Very likely.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Before we move off of the health, I just want to say, happy belated Nurses Day to all nurses. I believe, well, I know, let me not say believe, I know that they are doing a wonderful job here on Ireland. And I appreciate you, I love you, and I wish that and hope that you would continue to do the good work that you are doing in taking care of us. I think they had a week of activities, Webbo. One such, I think, was a walk. I was unable to go, but my wife represented me. So I just want to say happy belated Nurses Day again to all of the nurses, Webbo.
I wrote an article in the Observer, and this been many moons ago, where the article went, Nevis population needs to be increased. So there are times when, for whatever reason, you don't get to say all you want to say, and time passes by.
Well, I hope that resonate with the important people here on Nevis, because it's almost like a crisis situation here on Ireland, believe it or not. Lack of workers, and as the caller said, it won't be all skilled and professional. We need laborers too.
Well, laborers are the skill. They got a skill.
And I think he have enlightened us and everyone who have tuned into the program, because as you say, Webbo, the monkey situation, because we are talking about an increased population. There are people who's going to sit right there and because that's their job, to look out for the monkeys. When you have the population to support economic development, these things are possible. You know, when you don't have a population, sometimes you're not even on the list as a possible destination, you know, for industries or big development and so forth and so forth. You know, people have to bring people from other countries, you know, St. Lucians and Vinces and so forth, and at times, of course, when you see people come in here, they come with them. They bring with them a particular, not just a mindset, but they come with alternative ways of doing stuff. You know, we've been talking about the Haitians. Trust me, Haitians art are one of the best in the world. They do some immaculate stuff in terms of art and crafts and so forth. And of course, as the caller said, there are intellectuals there as well. There are top surgeons and everything there, you know. So it's not a bad thing entertaining the thought of probably Haitians. You don't have to be Haitians, but I guess we all agree here that we are suffering from this small population that we have here on Ireland. And if you're in business, you would realize that a lot. But the truth is, some people in business, they don't want you getting business, so they tell you everything that makes you shy away from business. But if you're in business, you would easily realize that the small population is to some extent an impediment to economic growth here in Nevis.
Yeah, that's true, Naya. And as I said, I don't have any qualms, you know, with the increase of population, but it's how it is going to be done, how we are going to go about it, what path we are going to lay out and follow. So we are on that page, Naya. So as I said, no crimes here with that at all.
There's a particular guy here on Ireland that every time he see me, he tell me one thing: when are you going to bring that topic, Naya? And you know what the topic is? It's employers' liability, employers' responsibility to their workers when one get injured on a job, and how much they have prepared for such things. I don't know. Some have insurance, some don't. But this individual always talked to me about this. He had a bad experience in that he was injured on a job, not by anything, but another individual on the job. And he's been going through a lot for many years, and he thinks that the topic is a major topic, because he feels that employers here do not embrace the responsibility of ensuring that their workers are protected,
Safe environment.
and if any injury or anything happened to them, you know, they have something in place if they are responsible for the occurrence to facilitate these individuals. What do you think, Mr. Stan?
Well, there are laws on the books, and employers have to ensure that workmen's compensation is adhered to. Social Security has an obligation for an injured person who got injured on the job, and there are safety nets that are put in place. But beyond those safety nets, depending on how the injury or accident occurred, the employer could be held liable for further compensation other than the safety nets that I've just mentioned, Social Security and workman's compensation. Because when Social Security and the other payments are taken out, they go, one, Social Security, two, to the Labor Department regarding a certain contribution, and those are the safety nets that I'm talking about. So for whatever reason, if this person who has been injured has not been compensated, it is very likely that the employer was not paying for Social Security and workman's compensation. But like I've said, depending on the extent of the injury, depending on the nature of the injury, and whatever occurred, the employer is liable for compensation through Social Security. If the employer has not been paying, then the employer is liable, personally liable, for the injury that occurred to his worker while the worker was in his employ. So the person who continues to tell you to bring this issue on the program, he, for some reason, should find out from his employer if those two safety nets, Social Security and workman's compensation, have been paid for. If, like I said, the employer doesn't have those two factors, then the employer is responsible for the economic support, and as a result, the employer could be sued.
Well, in this particular case, the court found the employer liable in this particular scenario, and only that it's been now 14 years and he not getting no money, not even a penny. Right? That's why he always, and he point out a few cases, of employees who have been through similar circumstance, and just because they're probably not able to hire a lawyer and bring this matter to court, they are left totally, just not being compensated. They just have to go through the agony of course, their Social Security has been paid, so they while they were home, they were being paid the little amount that Social Security would provide. But as I say, in this particular scenario, the court had found the employer liable, and so forth. Sometimes the employee simply just ain't got no money, and sometimes no will to go forward, to take this matter to court and so forth, and he's just left there to suffer on his or her own. And so it is a serious thing to me, really, and I find it's important that employers are reminded of their responsibility and to their employee, to their workers, and also to create the safe environment so that injuries and so forth do not happen, because in that case then the employer would be liable. But again, a lot of them feel them not reliable because the poor little employee can't take them to court, right?
Sure they can. So, well, let me say
So they
this.
can. No,
Maybe
if you
it's
ain't
not
got no
that
money
they
in
can.
Nevis,
Right.
sometimes you can't take nobody to court.
Right, exactly.
Remember, we don't got no public legal service here. What they call it again? I forget the right name.
Legal aid.
Yes.
Well, let me say this. There are some employees, when I came here, I was told, don't take any money out of my... So based on the contractual arrangement, whether it was verbal or written, if you are threatened as an employer not to take out money from a particular employee, then one, you operate at your own peril.
No.
The employee operates at his own peril, and two, the employer operates at his own peril. So, in that regard, it is mandated that every employee, after, I don't remember the length of time, maybe 6 weeks, and they are in this particular person's employ, that person has to take out Social Security and workman's compensation, as the case might be. I think there are 3 categories, 3 tranches of payments, and therefore if you are told not to take out money from a particular employee's payment,
Then Stanley,
then
that
the employee should be terminated.
exactly, because that employee is encouraging you, the employer, to break the law.
Right. So, based on what you just brought to the fore, Naya, ask the employee what kind of arrangement he or she had with the employer, and if for some reason they told the employer not to take anything out of...
No.
So, I'm saying to you, something doesn't sound right
No.
in this scenario that you
No, we're going past that.
are bringing to the...
No, we're going past that. The matter went to court and the court fined the employer liable.
Okay.
Okay, so that's where we're at with that particular situation. As I say, it's running 14 years for him, but he have not got a set, and he's been to the highest court in our chain of courts, the Privy Council and all that. But I don't want to dwell on that particular situation in a general sense. To me, it is something that at times employers need to be reminded of. And also the employees need to be aware of the general situation and circumstance that they themselves is going to be operating in, and their status, as an employee.
Well, I would say that there is a backlash sometimes coming from the employee once they are not being compensated. Some people would have reached the age of retirement, and for some reason they get a little agitated, annoyed, and maybe disgusted over the fact that they're not collecting Social Security because they have reached retirement age. When I ask what happened, they weren't paying, and if you have not been paying, you shouldn't be receiving. There is always a penalty for not contributing, because if you're not contributing, when time comes, you should not be receiving.
Straight up.
But Stanley, the employee cannot contribute directly. The employer, and you mentioned something to the effect that even if it is verbal. Now, if I'm in your employ, I probably want to meet a certain target by X time, and I'm making a certain amount of money. So I can say, Mr. Stanley, I do not want monies to be coming out for Social Security. Pay me straight. But then when you go down the road now and Social Security gets involved now, I can always say that I never said that to you.
But that would be dishonest.
We're living in a dishonest world. I mean, Webbo say every man in life is not fair, but God is good. And that's the nature. And that is why, I was kind of taken aback when you say even verbally, in today's world, we understand the world that we are living in. And even if it was supposed to be in writing, then it's still wrong because you would be breaking the law.
Well,
there was something I heard on the news, the ABS news. I think might have been this morning or last night. And
I feel just let me take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening, Webbo. How are you?
I'm good.
This is Elton Marcus Hall.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
All right.
Even if I didn't have something to contribute, I would have to call in to say hi to, my good friends Stanley and Naya. Two of the heaviest weights who've been on one radio.
Who you used to wrangle between. It's good to hear you.
we have a young man with us.
And I wanted to say, Stanley, the young man has to come again when you mentioned the verbal contract, and he gonna come and tell the judge that he didn't say that. He's gonna have to come again. I'm saying to you, because not only it's dishonest, he shouldn't get anything because he's that dishonest. You know what I'm saying to you?
But Carla, can I ask a question, Carla?
Sure.
How you going to prove to the court that I told you not to take out any Social Security monies?
It's not a matter of proving to the court. You are trying to say that even if the guy said it, he can go to court and lie to the court. That's what you're trying to say.
Okay. Can I ask another question?
Sure.
What would be your response to the court when you tell the court that I told you not to take out, knowing that if you do not make the contributions on my behalf, you'd be breaking the law?
If you told me, I told him, yes, we had a verbal contract, and it still stands. So now we have to argue my word against yours, right? But the fact is, you did tell me. Now the fact is, even if you're denying it, you're still dishonest. It doesn't change the fact that you're being dishonest. Right? And like Naya says, there's a guy who went to the court, and obviously it's been 14 years, and he still hasn't gotten any money. So if you're going to go to the court and lie to the court, why should the person abide by what the court said?
Okay. Carla, let me ask another question. Even if we were to go to the court, and I admit that I told you not to take out the Social Security monies on my behalf, what would be your response to the court? Are you going to tell the court that Roger said not to take out my monies, so because of that I break the law?
Well, the breaking of the law is subject, right? The bottom line is you are being dishonest.
But you are being dishonest as the employer to Carla.
If we have an agreement, and now you go and lie to the court. See, this is one of the things I call you about. I didn't call you to lament that. I'm just saying, being dishonest is not the right way to go in this kind of society. It's like people go and lie to the police, and because of the lie they tell the police end up victimizing someone. Do you think that's right?
No, of
No,
course
of
it's
course
not.
not. But like I said, I call him because I had something more important to talk about, right? Naya, we were talking about more. You're talking before about more people coming in, right? While I agree more people coming in, the question that you should be asking: do we, as a country, have legislation in place to guide these people who are coming so that they know what their obligation is? The person who's working for the government also knows the legislation so that they now can be guided by the legislation. That's one. The other thing was this. If you're talking about stabilizing people at the hospital, let's say a government minister comes to Nevis and has an accident. Which is more feasible? Having a system or enough healthcare knowledge in Nevis to stabilize him, or do you risk throwing him on a helicopter to take him to Sinket to try and stabilize him? Which one do you think is better? Either Stanley or Naya can answer the question for me. And I'm going to help in a minute. But one other thing, Webbo. A lot of islands are having Nurses Month. And I think we're having a Nurses Week. And I would really like to see that we extend for the Nurses Month, because they do such a great job here in Nevis. I can't speak for Sinket. I've never been to the hospital in Sinket. But they do a very good job here in Nevis. And anytime I've been there with my girls, they've always been very, very helpful. So I think we should look at a month-long celebration for nurses. I'm listening off here, you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Let me just take a quick break and then we will come right back. This is Thought That Get Results. Roger Fifield, Conrad Nye Liebert, Edric W. Stanley. Your phone calls on 1-869-469-1616 or 1700. We'll be back after these.
8 acres of land on the island's main road opposite the Gingerland Methodist Church is up for sale. Contact Stanley's Real Estate for serious inquiries or for more information at 1-869-665-5634 or 1-869-469-3868.
Builder's Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builder's Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builder's Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Builder's Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts or call them at 466-4938.
Back on this episode of Thought That Get Results with Edric W. Stanley, Conrad Nye Liebert, and Roger Fifield.
Yes, the caller wanted to know if I think he put forward the option of having sufficiently professional medical professionals here on island, so you can stabilize somebody here, then you move them out, as opposed to having to put them on a helicopter, being unstable, of course, to take to Sinket to get them stable. And he's asking me, Conrad Liebert, which is the best? What do I think? Well, it's obvious that I would think that we have sufficiently professional people here in Nevis to stabilize the patients before they go on the helicopter.
Okay, let me get this. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Hi, good evening, Webbo, and good evening to your panelists.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, now, the last case, it is against the law. The law requires that all employers make the deduction. So you cannot go and tell any magistrate that they had an agreement. he broke the law and he should be taken to think for that. And well, he could go back to the court and ask that he receive his money some way. Now the matter with the population, I don't know if you all heard the Prime Minister was talking about. I don't know, it was Labor Day. He was saying that the population, according to the census, has gone down. And he was encouraging people, the women, to get more children. But the country can do with a lot more people. And if you think it's full of Spanish, French, and everybody know. What they did in Newtown and Irishtown, a lot of the abandoned houses, they went and renovated them themselves. Buy 211 or whatever and
Yes.
fix them up.
Yes.
And often they live in big houses too. Maybe 10 or 12 of them, so they rent large houses. And they were talking about, I must say last week, a lot of houses in Nevis look abandoned or some large ones not occupied.
Yes.
The owners could make money by renting them out.
Yes.
You know?
Correct.
All right then.
Okay, thank you. Naya?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, I would like to see a medical professional, sufficiently professional here in Nevis, that we can stabilize the patient before we send them anywhere, and not to have them go to St. Kitts for stabilization. That does not fit good in my mind, because I'm such a pro-Nevis individual that I would prefer that we just have our patient be cared for here, to the extent of getting them stable so that they can travel away to seek further medical attention. Sometimes they have to go to St. Kitts for stabilization, and sometimes they have to go to St. Kitts to fly out, leaving the airport in St. Kitts, and that doesn't rest comfortable with me, really and truly.
Let me take this, Naya.
shows
Good
again.
evening, thank you for holding.
Hey, Webbo, good night.
Naya, go ahead.
It shows a level of inadequacy, which a lot of people don't want us to talk about, but it shows that level of inadequacy if we have to go to St. Kitts to be stable, to get our patients stable, or if we have to go to St. Kitts to use the tarmac at the Robert Llewellyn Bratcher Airport to fly them out. We have an airport here.
Webbo, I do not believe that any health professional going to allow a patient, especially to be flown out, until or unless that patient is stabilized. There's difference in pressure as you go up the altitude in the airplane, helicopter, aircraft, whatever terminology,
Small plane.
smart plane, whatever jets, whatever you want to call it. So I do not believe that any health professional, as I said, would allow their patient, and sometimes to even patients in the hospital, they discharge themselves because they believe that they are at a point that they can leave the hospital. But the doctor would not release the same way a patient until he or she feels that that patient is up to a standard to be released. And it's as simple as that.
Yes, but the caller had concerns about an unstable patient having to go to St. Kitts to be stabilized.
In what way?
I mean, in what way?
No, I'm just asking. I'm curious.
To be stabilized in preparation to go further afield for medical treatment. So he was asking us what we prefer, which to me is unobvious.
So the question is, they are going to St. Kitts to be stabilized because machines on St. Kitts and they are not on equipment on St. Kitts and they are not on Nevis?
Well, sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's vice versa.
Right, so let me give you a little story.
No, that happens, Mr. Roger. It does happen that sometimes you need to go to St. Kitts to be stabilized.
Let me give you a little lesson.
Sure.
The hospital is run by professionals, doctors, nurses. I can't tell if the nurses are part of the hierarchy in terms of the decision-making process. But at the same time, when I got shot, that was in 2007, I told my doctor, at the time I had enough resources to buy the equipment and to ensure that the equipment be brought in, and I gave him information as to where the equipment can be found, could have been found. Because at the time I had one of my sons working with General Electric that made surgical tables. And the doctor came back the next morning and told me he had had a meeting with his colleagues. And they said, let me quote, "Stan, you want to fly out now?" So the decision was I had to get my passport and a copy of the check to show to the air ambulance people, and I was ready to go. I was so taken aback, I was depressed all day simply because they didn't want to adhere to what I recommended, because at the time I could have afforded to pay for the machine, for the surgical table, which could have been of use to other patients in the same condition that I was, or needed the machine or the surgical table to assist in the process. Eventually I had to wound up in St. Clair Medical Center in Trinidad. And when they rolled me in, right across in front on the surgical table, General Electric. Did I make my point?
Yeah.
Heard you, Stanley. I heard you.
Thank you.
And that means what? That they should have buy the table.
Yeah, and get
and have one on Nevis, then use it for you, and then have
exactly
have it for the other patient.
And General Electric would have sent the people to train.
So that would have been a contribution to you.
Exactly.
From you.
But
to
Stanley,
the Nevis.
my question to you, maybe you can answer, maybe you can't. You know, the time the table would have taken.
I feel that I'm going to cut in. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yeah, well, it's me again, Elton Magasol. I'm going to be quick. Now I was on the right track. The bottom line is, if we're saying that we are improving health, it cannot be just in St. Kitts. It must be in both hospital where, and remember, I did say a government minister have an accident in Nevis. Federal government minister have an accident in it. Is it more effective to put them on a helicopter without being stabilizing because we are not up to snuff to do it? So I'm saying, if we're saying that we're improving health, then we have to look at bringing both hospitals up to the same level where they both can stabilize people before they can be moved somewhere else. The other thing that I spoke about was the escalation of people coming in. But you have escalation of people coming in without legislation to guide them. And the people who are implementing these things, there will be problems. You guys have a good night.
Caller, I'm not so sure if I get you without legislation. I don't know what you're referring to specifically, but I would suggest generally we have all the legislation that everybody else has. Whether we are conforming to them might be a different debate. Go ahead, Naya.
No, I was going to say exactly what you're saying. They have legislation in place to supposed to deal with the influx of people, no doubt about it, and screening and what have you. So it's about adhering to, really, as you said, Webbo. I'm just repeating what you said. As you always say, so people always think that they need a new set of legislation for this. There are legislation in place right now, and for the government workers to effectuate these legislation, make sure they apply them, is another thing. And I do believe they do that, maybe sometimes too strictly at times, because we're talking about refugees sometimes, people with particular situation and circumstance. What I'm not sure of, that the legislation offer that flexibility, and then there would be that concern how flexible a legislation can be. So that's a different debate anyway.
Stanley, to go back to the point that I was making when you say you were injured. Now you spoke about General Electric. So the point I was bringing is how long the table would have taken to come here. Secondly, how long it would have taken for the guys to set it up, opposed to how much time it would take to fly you to Trinidad and get the medical attention that you needed. So all of those must have been factors that the doctors probably would have taken into consideration for the preservation of your life, albeit that you would have said that you didn't want it to fly out.
Quite so. But let me say this. You ever heard the story of cleansing the Augean stable? Let me give you the story. King Nebuchadnezzar wanted to have a big banquet, and the horseman said, "O king, the stable has not been cleaned in decades." So what was recommended? They turned maybe the river Euphrates into the stable, and within a short period of time, the stable was cleansed. What I'm saying to you, if you have a job to do, and you know what economic muscle must be applied to that job, you get the economic muscle, apply it, and get the job done. Did I make my point?
Is the economic muscle different to the health muscle? or are they one and the same?
No, they're different in concept, different situations.
Right.
So what I'm saying to you, General Electric, once they are paid what they're asking, they would have gotten the machine down here.
How quickly?
Again, it's based on the application of economic muscle.
Okay, the economic muscle is there. How quickly?
Expand a little on your thinking in terms of where the economic muscle must be applied. It must be applied in transportation.
I understand all of that, Mr. Stanley, but I'm asking how quickly.
Mr. Stanley had the money to get it here ASAP.
What time frame? What time frame? That's all I'm asking.
Well, you gonna.
That's all I'm asking. What time frame? A day? 2 days?
There is again, I gave you.
You're not answering the questions.
I would not answer the question simply because you have to expand your horizon in terms of
but you
application.
I do not believe, Stanley. Stanley, I do not believe that that table would have reached Nevis in a day.
FedEx comes to Nevis.
I know.
DHL comes to Nevis. Don't expect the machine.
You would have never reached in a day, Mr. Stanley.
You are being negative.
I'm being honest. I'm telling you, that could not have reached from the States on FedEx or DHL in a day to Nevis. I'm telling you that.
Well,
if you charter a plane, it could reach it in that time.
Well, now you're talking about it.
But you spoke specifically to DHL and FedEx.
I just brought those as to tell you how fast you could get things here.
Right. But you never said, Mr. Stanley, you never said how big the economical muscle is.
Roger?
You want to tell me what money you have?
No.
Roger, let us get to the point where we all get to, and I can only.
But make the mares go.
I can only attempt to guide you. And wherever there's a need and the economic muscle is required, we just make the amount applicable and you'll get the job done.
Got you.
Go, it took you a while.
Got you.
Took you a while. It took you a while.
But maybe on a serious note, Stanley, maybe you can consider maybe contributing one of such table to the hospital if there is a need.
Look, there are cycles. They're not to be learned on this program, you know. There are cycles.
Economic muscle cycles. You know, sometimes it's bigger.
So it's like the giant malt of yesteryear.
Well, so the point is, you all know me by now. I'm not going to go around the bush. I'm not going around the bush.
Okay, wait.
This program repeats at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On Demand. Join Keith Scarborough at 8 o'clock on Thursday evening right here in the Eastern Caribbean's Powerhouse for Government at Work. This is your voice in the community, thought that get results. You all have a wonderful evening. Thank you again for joining us.